Hey, we're live. What's up, YouTube? Thank you for joining us. Sexual Frequency.
All right, here we go. Going live.
Excited to have you.
3, 2.
Welcome to Sexual Frequency, a non-judgmental place where we can play, explore, and vibe into the new paradigm of intimacy and sexuality together. I'm your host, Goddess Lore, and tonight we're continuing with Anal August, and we're exploring the potential of spiritual and energetic strengthening or spiritual awakening with anal play. Imagine pleasure for self-healing and spiritual growth. So yummy. And you know that that's what we're all about here on Sexual Frequency, finding our edges and ascending to higher levels. How does that make you feel, Rick?
That makes me feel sexy.
Ooh, Rick rocks with the hard cock. You know that voice, and he sets the tone for us every week.
That's right.
That sexy ass vibe you got going on.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Happy hump day, y'all.
Yeah. It is hump day, yes. It's the second hump day of Anal August. So what are you doing tonight? Let us know in the chat. And we do have a very special guest with us tonight, and he is here just in time for the first day of school. You know him from our chat, and I'm so excited to have him in the studio for the first time. Help me welcome Profesora.
Hola, buenas noches.
Ow!
Buenas noches, everybody.
There you go.
Oh, are you guys, like, did that make the pussy heartbeat? Like, finally getting to hear the voice of Profesora? Because that was kind of yummy, okay? So I have actually had the privilege of sleeping next to Profesora quite a few times. And when I tell you that he makes some sexy sounds when he sleeps, I'm just saying. So, you know, if your mind wants to go there, allow yourself to go there. He definitely does make
good things happen at night.
They sure do. He makes some sexy sounds at night. We also have Mysterious Jax in the studio.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, I'm helping.
That's that laughing voice you hear in the background. She's cheering us on.
You know me, let's add the sound effects.
I will not provide the same, Antoine. It's a talent he has.
Yes, if you missed that, please go back and listen to the previous episode because Mr. Antoine Moreno was definitely here for the lovely sound effects for all of us. So, before we continue though, Rick, what time is it?
Oh yes, it's pre-roll time. It's a pre-roll time, people.
Yes, it's pre-roll time. You know how we do it here at Sexual Frequency, baby. This episode is sponsored by Nuggy Farms. Nuggy Farms. Look for the name. It's coming to the nearest dispensary towards you. It is a farm. Hello, because Nuggy Farms. What else would it be? A farm located in the beautiful hills of Mendocino County in the heart of the Emerald Triangle. Product A1 top notch. Highly recommend, baby. So if you see the name Nuggy Farms, you know what to do. Buy that shit. Yeah. Okay? This episode is also brought to you, you know what it is already, baby. Vision Smoke Shop. Let them hook you up with all of your smoking essentials. They're going to make you look sexy. Because you want to be looking sexy when you're rolling up right before you're going to lay it down, okay? Because let me tell you. Let me remember what that feels like. Roll it, baby. You know, it makes me kind of feel like Bad Bunny vibes. Like, he can roll the weed, we're going to smoke it, we're going to get down. Okay, Bad Bunny. That made me smile, big. So Vision has locations in Cali, Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico, all the way from Santa Barbara to San Diego. Vision has got you, baby. Google the closest location to you. I know Carol Mommy is close to it because she lives in San Diego, and they got hella stores up there, girl. So, Rick, what they got to do when they put that tip on their lip?
They gotta think of us, sexual frequency.
Think of
That's,
I'm getting excited.
pick one of us, pick both of us. We prefer you.
yeah.
Ooh.
I sparky, you sparky.
I think Ricky and I might have shared a bed one night too.
Yeah, well,
You know,
Ooh, please do tell.
well.
It might have been
Blushing
a
over
little- it might have been a little
here.
nap.
He's blushing over here.
I blush all the time.
so let me just say, Profe, thank you so much for joining us and being our anal expert for the night, for answering all of your questions in the Compassionate Slut Hotline. It is open and it is ready for your questions. Nothing is too taboo here on Sexual Frequency because we accept every part of you here, baby, and we do not kink shame.
That's
The
right.
only thing that we do not condone on this show is what, Rick?
Cock blockers.
No.
I don't cock blockers.
We are not fans of the cock blocker.
Not a fan.
Tapping into the Compassionate Slut Hotline is really easy. Just push the little phone icon on the app if you're listening through TGN, and it's going to push you right through to us. Okay, we're excited for that. Yeah, we want to hear your voice
Call me
because,
callers.
listen, we have Profe here,
I'm ready to answer all your anal
Who-
questions.
has been in the chat, and now you get to hear the sexy voice.
Yeah.
So why don't y'all call in so we could hear y'all sexy ass voices, okay?
Let's mix it up, yeah.
Ricky, what do we got going on in the chat, babe?
Alright, so in the chat, we have Paramommies on the chat. Vadis is in the chat. Spiritual Slut. Vernisa, is that right?
Yes, Vernisa, what up, girl?
Paramommy says she's here to take notes. Vernisa says hi. Hello. Hello back to you.
Hi, Vernisa.
Hi, Priestess. Hey, yo.
Hey,
And
Oh.
Vadis. Hey, I'm ready.
Priestess coming in with the peach emoji. She got the double ass right there.
Mhm,
That ass,
mhm.
that ass,
It's
that
the
ass.
same
It definitely is. But before we dive into the topic of the night, I just wanted to share with you guys that right before we went live here in the studio, well, you know what, before that, I want to invite you guys to come and get close and personal with us. Join our live stream on TGN Latinx YouTube. Come and sit on my lap, baby. It'll be like you're up close and personal inside the studio. Come and join us. You'll get to see all of not just the beauty and the energy that is here in the studio, but all the expressions. It's like a different layer,
Yeah.
you know, just like sex. So many layers, just like an onion. Peel it back,
Peel me
jump
back,
in.
baby, yes.
Ooh, he said peel me back.
Open it up.
Open.
Make me cry.
Busted. Oh, he said make me cry. Okay, we are ready for that spiritual experience here for sure.
You are locked in. Ready to go.
Okay, so let me go back to the story real quick because right before we went live, Rick Rock picked up the remote control for the AC, went to change to lower the AC, and the lights in the studio, as you can see, are purple, and they switched to green, a color we never fucking use here. Like we never use green, fucking ever. I thought that the remote was like under my laptop, but it was actually inside the motherfucking drawer. Nobody's hands on it, not even remotely close. So we were like, what the actual fuck? Like, are we picking up some energies here? And you know, we always end the show with words from my mother. And I feel like Profe's mom is here with us too.
Absolutely. She's always with me.
Yeah, she is. If you could just
Yeah,
talk
she's always
closer
with
into
me.
the mic.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that because I feel like both of our moms would have been amazing lifelong friends, much like you and I.
You know, absolutely. My mom, in a lot of ways, like you are, you and I are friends. My mom and I talked about everything. It wasn't always like that. You know, it was kind of a tough start for us. But by the time I was in my 20s, my mom was just really interested in my life, my sexual being. She would ask me questions. When I got home, she's like, "Did you have a good time?" You know, like my mom was interested and always, I think, wanted me to just enjoy my life fully, and that included all those parts.
She wanted to know the achievement.
She did.
She was like, a ver, dime.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, spiritual
Yeah.
slut. Yes, green is the heart chakra. You're absolutely right.
I didn't know that.
Green. I was just like, oh, green is like horny and money and
Mhm.
abundance. So why did I not think of the heart chakra,
Yeah.
especially because I'm gonna talk about the root chakra tonight. So thank you for bringing that up, spiritual slut. Shout out to you, babe.
Can I actually tell you one time?
Yes,
One
please.
time she swiped left on my phone and saw something she shouldn't have, but it opened up a conversation, you know, and she was just like, "Pues vete a eso," you know.
Yeah.
And my mom, I think, you know, she had a lot of gay friends too, so she
Okay.
was always open to all kinds of diverse sexualities, you know. And I think with me, you know, it wasn't that she was worried that I was going to be gay. It was more that like it's tough to be gay in the 80s and 90s in particular. There was a lot of stuff going on, you know. But I think she began to realize, you know, by trying to make me scared of my sexuality, she was getting in the way of it. And once she embraced it and allowed me to be my full sexual self and tell her all the achievement, there was an opening there, you know, and a security there with my mom that I knew. I could tell her my stories and she loved it, you know.
Yeah, that's good. See, and that's what this show is about too. We're educating. You know,
Absolutely.
You communicating with your mom there, you know, that's what this is about too. You know?
And dropping those lines between what's
Yeah.
acceptable between, you know, a parent and a kid to talk about, right? Like,
Yes.
and my mom became my bestie, you know. She was my road dog in those ways. Absolutely.
That is so fucking beautiful. Like, talk about new paradigms.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
like we talk about this a lot on the show, like new paradigm of having those old ways, you know, get the fuck out of here.
Yes.
We don't need you
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
How are the ways that we can live in this world and just be more positive and support loving and nurturing relationships? Like, how many of us can say that they can talk about their sex life with their parents?
Yeah.
You know, regardless of the gender of the parent or.
And she shared some stuff back too, you know, that was like, I probably shouldn't know this, but okay.
I mean, that is just, it's so beautiful. And let alone the fact that you are gay.
Yeah.
And like you said, it wasn't like the stigma, or not the stigma, but it was more about what your experience was going to be out in the world
Yes.
versus how she felt about
Exactly.
you. And, you know, yeah, during that time in the 80s and 90s still was like the AIDS epidemic.
Absolutely.
AIDS was completely,
Just ravaging communities, right?
yes.
Particularly Latinos. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a huge stigma. You know, AIDS was considered like the gay disease, and there was so much misinformation and so much negativity around the gay community, which is just tragic. And you know, yeah, we're aging ourselves. Like, we are in our 40s, but that was very much real life, you know, for us
And
growing
that's why
up.
your show excites me, because I think that like there is something, a new age upon us that's happening, a new paradigm for how people think about sexuality, about gender, about what's possible. You know, I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and they're telling me that a lot of kids are coming back to school and presenting as non-binary or
Yes.
trans, and that the pandemic really allowed them to explore their identities and feel more vulnerable with their families. You know, and they're coming to school saying, "I'm non-binary," and that's to me beautiful, because they're teaching us to let go of those things.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. There's so much talk around that now, like, you know, from the younger generations, you know, like we're saying. And that's really the first thing to getting into the new paradigm is getting rid of binaries, right?
Mhm.
There's no
Yes.
right, there's no
Yes.
wrong, there just is.
Yeah.
You know, so step one, and thank you, youth, for leading the way, as
Absolutely.
a lot of times the youth does, you
I
know.
believe the children are the future.
Yeah, shout out to Whitney. It was his
Yes,
birthday the other day
that's right.
too. Yeah. Shout out to her and shout out to the kids, because it is definitely beautiful conversations, and I am sharing that now with my sons also, you know,
Yeah.
at an age appropriate level of, you know, what's acceptable and what isn't. So
Yeah.
we're here for it, because you know, this is what we do on this show, baby.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask Ricky, Jax, do you guys feel like you can talk to your parents about your sex life?
I think I can. It really just with my mom. My dad was always working, you know, nights, so he's never around. But I feel like I learned more from my mom than from my dad. But yeah, I mean, that was always, you know, my mom always was in our business too, running the
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, and that's a good thing, because growing up, you want to have someone to talk to,
Right.
when you are learning about sex and whatnot.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel, I can totally do that. I have no.
Why are you laughing already?
I mean, this is just interesting, the experience. There's two males in the studio,
Yeah.
two penis owners, two vulva owners. So I'm curious to what your experience is, Jackie.
Oh man, I would say that I would not feel comfortable. I have not talked to them about sex. If I did have to choose one, I'd probably choose my mom.
Mhm.
I think she would be open to it. I don't know. I've never done it, but I think that if I talk to her about it, she would probably be open to listening because my mom is very, I don't know. She's the type of woman who will flash us and her grandchildren. And her granddaughters.
That's so Mexican or Latino, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
Like she don't care. The other day we were having all dinner and it was all women and my nieces were with me, my sister Maria, her daughter and my other niece. They were asking questions about how we were when we were younger. I don't know how it came about, but my mom literally picked up her shirt and just started flashing my nieces and us. I was like, Mom, put your shirt down.
That's so body positivity.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just never really talked to her about sex like that.
Yeah. My experience was very similar to yours. So I wonder if obviously that has to do with
Sure.
gender roles, right?
Right.
But no, I never really spoke to my parents about sex. Like the wisdom that my mom gave me that I end the show with every episode, she gave me that information like 2 weeks before I got married. I was 24 years old. And I'm like, you should have given me this information when I was like 13.
Yeah.
But she waited and unfortunately she knows what my sexual adventures are now because she's definitely watching me and I saw pleasure in front of pictures of her and my grandmother. Shout out to the powerful ancestors in my life. But we know that Christian's mama and my mama are here tonight and they are ready and excited to have us touch on this topic that we're touching on tonight.
Yeah.
So are y'all ready to go anal diving?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do it.
So I want to ask if any of you guys have ever had a sexual experience that you have felt opened you up either energetically or spiritually. Maybe some experience or encounter that you had that you just felt really moved something in you and changed you that had a big impact on you.
Yeah, in the gay community, there's sometimes a real strict line between being a top or a bottom, So when I first became sexual, I thought of myself as a bottom, right? Like, that's just who I am. I'm young. That's, a twink or whatever in college. That's kind of tough. So I was a lot skinnier,
El Twinkie.
It's Twinkie, exactly. But, I lost my dad also in 2000 when I was 22 years old, 23 years old. So I had not been to Mexico City in a long time. My family's from there. We used to travel there a lot as a kid. And, it's a really huge, great city, right? Really fantastic. And I was 23. I was grieving my dad. And I went with a friend of mine, and we just went out to all the gay bars and met a lot of great gay, Mexico City Chilango types.
Oh, yeah.
And I just felt like I was speaking in Spanish with them. We were learning all about the gay community in Mexico City. I was seeing my cousins. I just felt like I was, really leaning into something really deep in myself culturally. And I kept thinking to myself, these are the streets that my mom and my dad used to walk through. This is where they met. This is where they held hands. But what was special was that one night we went out, a bunch of us, a big, I love going out with groups of people to a gay club or a bar. And thank you. One of the guys that was kind of hitting on me was like, oh, let's go back to the house. And we all went back to the house, right? A big group of us. And he was like, pues, yo soy pasiva, right? Or soy pasivo, right? Which I was like, well, I am too. I'm a bottom too. He's like, tú sí puedes. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. ¿Cómo que no sabes, right? I didn't feel like I was comfortable being a top, It was like an anxiety around it because I was so used to being bottom. And the guy was like, pues yo te voy a enseñar, And so he took me for a ride, But it was this really empowering experience where this guy was he was a little older than me, he was 10 years older than me, and just made me feel like that's a blockage that you need to let go of, right? You can't be on top, And I think with the gay community, it's the sort of thing where maybe there's an idea that when you first start out, you're one or the other, but it's hard to kind of switch it up sometimes, right? And I learned then that I had it in me, right? So I just really felt that night that it opened up my sense of my sexual self, like who I could be, that I didn't have to only be a bottom, and that there's something really powerful about also being the person who's on top and penetrating somebody else, you know, and that you have to be mindful of just what that pleasure feels like for them, right? And I think once you've been a bottom, you know that when you're a top, you don't want to just be rough and like, you know, just really hard on that person. You want to be really mindful of like, what's that pleasure like for me, and how can I give pleasure to them? And that's something that I think I've carried with me ever since that summer.
That's a beautiful story, and I wanted to ask, what do you think it was about that encounter? Because I heard a couple of things. You said one, you were in your, not in your feelings, but you were very much connected to something, a place that your parents were both at together.
Sure.
You were also grieving the loss of your father. You were exploring, you know, being a young gay Latino in Mexico City, and I can only imagine what the gay bars were like back then.
That's something else.
Amazing, and then you had an encounter with the beautiful, you know, human who was like, I believe in you.
Yes,
you can
absolutely.
do this.
Yeah, and I think that I did go to Mexico in a very vulnerable place, right? Like I was 22. Like when you lose a parent, my dad died of cancer. It was very sudden. My dad was this very virile, sexy, good-looking man. My dad was just charming. You know, everyone thought he looked more than Brando. You know, he was just this handsome man. And so to lose him, and he was just so like full of life before the cancer hit him, and then he was gone. That I went there really grieving. But when you're 22, what do you know about grief? Like how that feels? Like you can't even name it sometimes, you know. And so that's why I think those experiences were so powerful, because it was like joyful, and I was like, I can feel joy. I can feel joy again, or in the midst of all of this other pain, you know. And then, like you said, this person just coming into your life and saying, no, like I want you. You are beautiful. You're sexy. I want you to top me, you know, and kind of being like, okay, I'm gonna let myself be opened up like this, right? And it is an opening, right? Even though you're the one who's penetrating, it's still an opening, right? Of like what your sexual identity could be, and who, how you think about yourself sexually isn't closed off, right? And that's a really powerful thing, I think, to experience in your life.
Yeah, to have somebody want to surrender.
Yes.
You know, surrender to your energy, surrender to your power. You know,
I just remembered his name was Angel. So, you know, there was a spiritual energy there. Angel opened me up.
You know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. He sends you the angels that you need. Baby Jesus, if you're listening, I need my chakras aligned too. You can send any angel my way. I will gladly accept them into my life.
Yeah.
We have the baddest in the chat who says, same, my parents never talked about sex, but would threaten the shit out of me to never get pregnant when I was a teen. Yeah. My dad actually talked to us about virginity, not about sex. He wanted to deter us from having sex. And so his talk around virginity was, your virginity is like a pack of airtight sealed peanuts. And once you open it, it's never going to be the same.
Wow.
You know, because the peanut's going to get stale, basically what he was saying. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God, that's
like,
a metaphor. Yeah.
That is, or talking about like wine, how it ages with time and how it's so much better. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, bitch, are you for real right now? Like, are you really? That is not what deterred me from having sex. What deterred me from having sex was that I have a fertile ass family, and I was scared to get pregnant. I was like, with my motherfucking luck, I'm gonna fuck one time, and I'm gonna be having twins. Like, no, thank you.
Make some peanut butter.
That's right, spiritual slut. We be making peanut butter. Now we are, like, for sure. So for me, definitely an experience that opened me up spiritually is anal pleasure. And that's why I wanted to make this a topic, because when I discovered anal play, it just fucking, I feel like my universe expanded in a way that I never thought I could have imagined. And I know that that can sound silly to people, especially if we're of the mindset of like, oh, that's gross or that's this. But if y'all heard episode 1 of Anal August, you know that we dispelled all of those myths and rumors. This was about exploration for me. And sure, you know, like when you shower and you're in the thing and you're doing all the things, you feel the tingle, you know, like it feels good. But I hadn't really explored so much like with myself until here we go, Kinky Boo Chronicles. Kinky Boo strikes
Right.
again. This mofo, this valley boo. But I am forever grateful to him because through his energy, much like Ankit,
Yes.
allowed me to really be me
Yes.
and to explore these places that I wanted to. I internally really deeply wanted to, but I allowed all of these stigmas and these things to kind of stop me from doing it. So yeah, very much like Angel for you, like this was something like the energy of this person, the safety around this person allowed me to do those things. And let me tell you, if you guys didn't see my Instagram story of, I think his name is Carlos. It's a girl looking at her phone and she says something like, when you realize that guys look at your like ass
Oh, right, yeah.
when you know you're going doggy style. And he just laughs and he's like, what? Like, y'all think that your third eye is in between your forehead. Like, no, your third eye is your asshole, bitch. And I just thought that was so fitting for today's episode because it's definitely a portal that is very intuitive. And it's a place that we don't think of, right? That it would be intuitive or that we would feel all of these things, but it really is. Next week, I'll be sharing my poem that I did. I did a poem, Ode to the Ass.
I love that.
I'll share it with y'all next week, but it definitely opened me up. It was a spiritual experience for me.
Yeah.
Like the first time I ate ass, for me, like the first time that my finger penetrated a booty was like blew my motherfucking mind. Like my body is in it right now in this moment, and it was just completely fucking like
Yeah.
unreal. Like what it did for me, it allowed me to really be in my masculine and in my feminine energy both at the same time.
Yes.
Because I was receiving so much pleasure from what I was doing, but I was also using a penetrative force,
Right.
like something I had never done before. I mean, aside from like fingering someone's mouth, which is also super fucking hot. I love doing that, but when I did it, when I penetrated an asshole, it was like, I'm telling you, the visceral feelings I'm getting right now, like my mouth watered, I'm feeling soft in my body. Like it was just literally, my mouth is watering. It just felt amazing. And it's something that I would love to have people be open to experience that because it is so powerful to be able to hold both of those energies at the same time, right? It's just like, I can't even describe it. And so yeah, so when I saw that meme or whatever it was, I was like, absolutely, the asshole is so powerful. And we said this in the last episode, like it is really a universe all in itself. It just absolutely is. And I wanted to take the spiritual approach again because that was something that happened kind of with me. And you know, to also support our anal explorers out there.
Yeah.
Like if you're still in a place where you're, and not that everybody has to do this, right? We don't all have to explore anal pleasure, but in the new paradigm, why wouldn't you?
And see, I love what you're saying because I think that we've been taught to believe that the anus is something to be hidden, to not be talked about, to not be touched, you know, that it's a dirty place. And I think about all these cultural histories where that wasn't the case, you know, in the Americas and in Europe and, you know, all kinds of historical examples. So I feel like there's a new paradigm that's remembering that we used to be able to do this and it wasn't shameful. It was actually like revered as a great form of sex. You know, there's like this Peruvian indigenous culture where they looked at all the art, and the majority of it was anal. It wasn't vaginal, right? Because it's the idea that it was a sacred act, you know, and it was equalizing in some ways too, right? Male and female energies, right? And I think that that's something that we should all explore a lot more.
Yeah, it is. It's like a coming back. It's like you're coming home to it, which is kind of the irony to say new paradigm, right? But like all of these things started changing with colonization, with you know, the civilized people coming in and taking over the savages.
Institutionalized religion.
Yes.
All that stuff.
All of the institutions, and so we're saying fuck that shit, because that is really our truest nature, right? Is to be able to be so fluid and so open and not view this as a taboo. And that's what we talked last episode too. It's like the consorts back in the day, it's like that's what they did. They were there to be able to provide a safe space and sexual exploration for the purpose of expanding awareness, of coming to your body and knowing not just what feels good like physically and for pleasure, but knowing what feels good and what feels right, you know, and like what to do. So
and that all parts of your body are accessible to you, you know? All parts of your body are open and beautiful to be explored.
Yes, and I just want to say real quick, Spiritual Slut said it perfectly. She said the male G-spot is in the prostate for a reason. You know, we believe in divine creation, then there is definitely a purpose for putting the male G-spot in that area. Thank you for bringing that up, because it is so true. Before we get into chakras, Rick, what's going on in the chat besides the peanut butter?
So Melissa is saying, I don't feel comfortable talking about it with my parents. We never had those talks. So some people, they don't do that.
Right.
I heard Who Wants to Buy the Cow in the Middle of this tree way too many times. That shit did not sit right with me at all. Mireita says, my dad gave me the talk before my 15, and he said, mija, los muchachos no te quieren bajar la luna. Y las estrellas solo te quieren bajar.
That's a classic wisdom right
there. For those of you who do not speak
Spanish,
the translation is like,
boys
do not want to give you the stars and the moon. What they want to do is take your calzones down. They're not trying to bring the heavens to you. They're trying to bring your underwear down.
Exactly.
To your knees, baby, okay?
And she says it's still applicable. Or maybe this was your, maybe she was referencing your...
I think, I don't know.
The peanuts.
I think she's talking about Mireya's.
I think Mireya's,
about Mireya's dad, but... Yeah, so let's touch on the root chakra. And for those of us that are not familiar with our chakras, they're like our spiritual power centers. There's 7 main ones, or commonly accepted chakras, that run through the core of our body. And if we think of chakras, something like the veins and arteries carry like blood in our body, right, to like our vital organs. The chakras basically house like our spiritual power and our energy. So our root chakra is based in the perineum, and it is one of the very few chakras that can actually be penetrated. And the spiritual power and energy behind the root chakra is all about safety, security, making sure that our basic human needs are met, and abundance. So if we have any blocks in this chakra or in this area, that could very well be what is preventing us from not being able to open up and wanting to explore this part of our body, because of the uncomfortable, maybe stuck, impacted area that we have in our root chakra. Because really, when you think about it, like the anal sphincter, it's the first thing that tightens up when we are in stressful situations, or when we're having a conversation that makes us feel uncomfortable, right? We tend to maybe wiggle around in our seats, or like sit up nice and tall and straight, because that muscle is kind of like gripping tight and is like not wanting to move, or being very rigid. So again, it's like a very intuitive part of our body. And so if as we're having this conversation, if you're noticing any type of tightening in that area, I would really encourage you to do some work, some personal work around that topic, because it's not only paramount to do this work so that you can experience anal pleasure, but it's paramount to do this work because it supports us in feeling confident and able to move in the world in the way that we desire to do so, right? Because if we are feeling like we are not enough, if we are feeling like we don't belong, if we are in scarcity mode, then that's going to affect the decisions that we make, and it's not going to really allow us to be fluid in moving forward with our dreams and desires, because we are stuck, we are blocked in that. Um, so important, I think, especially for the Latino community, because most of us, at least those of us that are here in the studio right now, we are first generation, correct?
Yeah.
So when our families and our ancestors came to this country, um, it was very much so in pursuit of a better life,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But that came with a cost. It came with the cost of having to navigate this land, navigate in a different language, potentially having to move to different places as you're moving where the jobs are, where the work is, and not particularly feeling very like grounded, like this is my home, this is where I live, I am accepted here. So there's also that generational piece for us, like that's important to talk about also. I know our experiences have been very different, but that is definitely that's something that's in our blood, that is generationally a part of us. So I would suggest, yes, do some type of clearing work, particularly when it comes to the root chakra, because it's like you got to start from the bottom.
Right.
You can't have this pursuit of um, higher spiritual awakening or understanding without starting at the bottom. So why not start through anal awakening? Why not start through pleasure? We have this idea that awakening, ascension has to be hard. We have to work on it forever. It has to be like something that we toil over, right? Like, oh, I've worked so hard. I've been at this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever you want to say. But it doesn't have to be that way. Again, this is also new paradigm. Like, we're shifting.
Yeah.
We don't have to do all those things. We can transform through pleasure. We can awaken through pleasure. And what better way than to start at your root,
Yeah.
in your root chakra, your base.
Absolutely. And guys, I think about I went to a chakra specialist once, and she talked to me about how, if you visualize your chakras as like little spinning wheels of energy,
Yes.
right? And they go a certain direction. And when you have like a machine, like they all kind of build on each other, right? If one of those gets messed up, the whole thing falls apart, right? And so I had some issues in my sacrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everything was beginning to build up. She was like, I could feel that energy beginning to get misdirected as it went up towards my body. So I was having like stomach issues and the sinus infections even. And so I think that like if you don't take care of that root, it moves up the body, and it blocks us literally from being able to be free and synchronous with all those chakras aligned, And so for me, the root is really the idea that like that where you're excreting, where you're releasing is also where you're allowing in a lot of energy too, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that kind of idea of loving your root, loving your booty is really important, and we don't often give it a lot of love, because we're sort of taught to think it's dirty.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why I think a lot of folks just don't think of it as a pleasure spot, but also as a place of like energy and healing too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're so fucking right about that, because there's people who are like, don't even talk to me about like cleaning my ass, wiping my ass, touching my ass. It's like, this is a part of your body, and it goes along with just loving every piece of you. We really want to know what you think. If you're out there and you have a question or a comment, please feel free to tap in on the spiritual slut hotline, the compassionate slut hotline.
Yeah.
We are here for all the questions. Again, nothing is too taboo
That's
for
right.
us here at Sexual Frequency. And yeah, starting at the bottom again is so important because we can be on our way and doing all of these things, and then that little fucking voice that is like, no, you can't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. You're not good enough. That is coming from your root chakra.
Right.
That is basically like, I don't want to say trauma, but I guess it could be trauma. Any type of trauma or story that we developed from when we were very young.
Yes. It's
Happens
the origin.
like
Yeah.
it's the origin. It's like it happens when we were really young. So again, if we think about like the experience of being an immigrant or migrating over here, it's like we like all of those programs, whatever our mom and our parents are going through at the time, get downloaded into us. So
That's right.
you know, it's good to do that work. It's good self-cleaning. You gotta start from the bottom. And let me tell you, the pleasure that we get, that you can get, the potential is just so amazing and so fucking huge. I can't even explain what that. I want to say it took my level to a different, like, it was like a level up.
Okay.
Where I was like, holy, where has this been all my life?
Right. And that's how I felt when I was on that trip, right? It's like, oh, I can do this. Like, you know, my identity was around the idea that I only receive,
Right.
but I can also give, and I don't have to think of myself as limiting to one type of sexuality. Right?
Mhm.
And I think that that's something that right now I'm seeing it so much around us. People, I think, are ready to just let go of the idea that their sexual identity is set or something that
Yes.
that it's rigid. It can be fluid and it can be experimental. You know, just because you try something once doesn't mean it changes you forever, right? It can be beautiful to explore that part of yourself and to try something out for the first time.
Absolutely. And there's something so beautiful about the surrender piece,
Yeah.
you know, that we talked about. Being with a partner that you feel that you can totally and fully surrender to, that you can open up yourself in that way, because it's like a lot of times we think of it like a power dynamic, right? Like, oh, you're
Sure.
dominating me, I'm being submissive to you. But there really is such beauty in that, you know? I always say the submissive is always the one that has the power, because the submissive sets the guidelines of
Yeah.
what's acceptable and what isn't. And so submission, surrender is really truly a gift that I feel that we should all consider, like being able to be that and do that for ourselves, and being able to provide that energy for somebody else, right? I know that there are probably a lot more barriers for men who consider themselves heterosexual to allow themselves to get into that place. But also, if you're in a heterosexual relationship and you're the female, you can also very much lead. You know, you can lead those conversations. You can lead what that looks like, what that feels like, and have open and honest conversations around it and about it, because baddies try new things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I had a couple of straight male friends over the years that have like asked me questions, right? Like, tell me about how to do this and how do I sort of manage
Yes.
this part of it, you know? Because I think that there are some men who are like, I know it feels good, and I don't feel like I'm attracted to men. I just feel like I like booty play, right? I like pleasuring myself there, you know. And I think that it's so really important to have people, whether they're your partner or a gay best friend who's your dude friend or whatever, you know, feel free to ask questions, you know, like it's great to learn from people and to feel vulnerable, right? And I feel like he and I had a better friendship because he allowed himself to explore something that he probably couldn't talk about with other people in his life, right?
Yeah.
But he felt open to it, you know, and I think that we should all provide that for others.
Yeah, providing that safe space for someone else to just allow them to even discuss or honor the fact that they can admit that, yeah, that's pleasurable to me,
Yeah.
and let's explore that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not
I want
only
a dildo that's gonna, you know, get inside me at different speeds, and I'm gonna use a remote, and I'm gonna like it. I mean, I didn't do that, but he was telling me about it, and I was like, hey, now, that's great, you know, like, get it with your remote control dildo.
I mean, for sure. Before we get into our mini meditation, Profe, I would like to ask you if you could share some tips with our anal explorers out there.
Sure.
Wherever they are on their journey, whether they're just dipping their toe in or whether they're, Olympic gold medalists. Like, what would you say are some tips that has supported you in your journey with anal pleasure?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hardest part is that because we don't talk about anal pleasure and sexuality, even when you start doing it, it still feels kind of taboo to talk about how do you do it in a way that feels good and takes care of your booty, right?
Yes.
That booty health, right? And so, like, because I've been a bottom and a top, I'm familiar with both ends of this equation.
Yes,
I
I
think
love
that,
it.
you gotta, if you're gonna bottom, it sometimes takes a little more work, because there's preparation involved, right? Like, there's all kinds of ways you can prep your body. You can watch your diet that day, You can use, there are these things called dude wipes that men have that you can use to sort
I've heard of those,
dude
yes.
wipes, right? A bidet can save your life, right? Because ultimately, water helps us, it encourages evacuation from the anal cavity, right?
Mhm.
And so it's just a fact of life. As you get older, there's, we poop. That's what the anus also does, right? And so I think we should just get away from this idea that's shameful and more about how do I sort of prepare it for pleasure, right? So, this term called fleeting is often used in the gay community. It's like a bowl that you can sort of get some warm water, just kind of sort of use it, sort of gently insert it. You can use a little lube if you want, and just sort of release the water, and it helps you evacuate and get clean, right? Also, you can just be in the shower and just sort of use hot water on it, some soap, those are all things that I think help you prepare, and so that you feel like, I think some of the anxiety about some kind of accident can get in the way of pleasure, right? Because you're like nervous.
Being in your head,
Yeah, and so I think sometimes people are afraid that, like, if you can't deal with a little poop when it's gonna happen, it's just like you just aren't ready for anal sex. I just gotta say it. It's like it's part of the experience. Sometimes it's gonna happen. If you're grossed out by it, it's like you're not really ready for that part of the body, because you need to not let go of that shame, let go of the idea that it's something that to be avoided forever.
Yes,
Sometimes it happens, but you can prepare about it. So I do watch my diet if I know I'm going to bottom, right? Because you got to be mindful of that. And again, I do use those kinds of tools so that I just feel comfortable to slip into that moment and not feel worried and nervous. And even if it does happen, it's no big deal, It's and letting go. I think when you're a top also, you want to be mindful of being gentle and kind of finding out what that person wants, especially if it's their first time. You want to take it real slow. You want to use lube. You want to sort of be really, asking questions, talk through it, versus just this kind of quiet thing, and then find out what works, right? But I think that if you're the person who's doing the top work, don't forget that person is a being who deserves to be respected, right? It's not just a hole, right? It's like someone who's connected to their own histories and their own chakras, right? And so I think that kind of moment of connecting through that in that place, two roots connecting, right? It's about being ready for it, because it's a little less totally spontaneous with anal sex, and that's okay. It's about being mindful in some ways and being ready. I think it's kind of one of the best parts of it,
I actually have a funny story around that, because so it wasn't the first time that I had anal, but it was the second time when I was actually able to be I don't know how you would say it, get some full action, right? It was super in and just super flowing and super great. And it was actually the day that I had my birthday threesome. And it was earlier in the day, and I was like, these fools are gonna cancel. It ain't gonna happen.
Oh, I remember that. You told us.
It's not gonna happen. They're gonna cancel. Man, fuck this shit. And my neighbor had actually just gave me some albondigas. So it's like a meatball stew, for those of you who don't know what albondigas are. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have my dinner and whatever. Bitch, I had albondigas before I fucking went for my birthday threesome. Okay, mind you though, I did not get anally penetrated until maybe 10 hours after I had that. But I was very much okay, well, fuck it, I'm doing this, it's gonna go down. I actually expected that I would be a little bit dirty, and I wasn't. Very much to my Very much to my surprise, but I was very happy,
Yeah.
that I wasn't. But again, I think that just also has to do with the vibe that you're in, the person that you're in, the presence, the energy that you guys have together. Not that I wasn't dirty, right? But the fact that like my body was like
Yeah.
so open and like so ready. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's not a hard and fast rule. Everyone's body's different, right? Everyone's metabolism is different.
Yes.
So that's why it's so important to get to know the partner. Like,
Yeah.
how is this part of your body?
For sure, absolutely. Thank you for all of those tips. We really appreciate it because we love the tips to get more than the tip inside because that's where the true pleasure comes in. And so now we are at the interactive portion of our show. So you know what it is. Put all the cockblockers to sleep. Hopefully they're all in bed by now. It's 10:20. Kick that dog out your bed. And find yourself a nice, comfortable, quiet place to be where you're not going to get disturbed at all. And we're going to do a little exploration, asking a couple of questions of our body. We're really going to just tap in. Close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in, nice and slow through the nose. Gently hold and slow release through the mouth. We're going to get your mind right so you could leave your back door open. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose, slow. Hold and slowly release through your mouth. Feel into your lower root chakra. What sensations are you feeling in your body? Imagine yourself being open to receiving, giving, and expanding in pleasure. Breathe into that chakra. What would it take for you to explore your own universe? Giving yourself permission to explore in all the ways, allowing yourself to be pleasure, allowing yourself to give pleasure, allowing that lower third eye in your body to open up to new spiritual heights. If you feel a blockage, I want you to take a breath into wherever you're feeling tightness, nice and slow. And allow yourself to just feel all the things. Leave the door open for potential, for all the possibilities and the pleasure that can come from exploring our root chakra. Are you feeling a tingle? Are you feeling a push or a pull or a tightening? Whatever you're feeling is acceptable. How is it making your body feel? Take one big deep breath in through your nose. You're going to hold and slowly exhale through your mouth. And know that you can visit this place at any time. This conversation, this energy is always open, ready and wanting you to explore and ascend. Become friends with your roots. Because we got to start from the bottom. Now take one last deep breath into your sex, nice and slow. Tightening your perineum and bringing that breath all the way up to the third eye between your forehead. And slowly release. Now bring your awareness back into the room. Wiggle your toes, your fingertips. Thank your body for all of the potential, all of the pleasure, all of the elevating that it can do. And leave the potential open. To leave your back door open. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your awareness back into the room with Goddess, Rick Rock, and Freakuency. Thank you for that opportunity to share with you all. And I hope that this conversation today allowed you all to be a little more open in our anal exploration. We know we've been talking a lot about mindset and not so much about actual protocol and practice, but we have 2 more episodes left in Anal August. And to be honest, anal pleasure is going to be a topic throughout the duration of this show. This is not just for a month, baby, because it has been truly life-changing for me. And I'm very grateful. Profe, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think just as I was meditating with you right now, I was thinking about just like how all of our body is a site of pleasure, right? And that we should not think of any part of our body as not open to that, And I think I'm grateful that I was able at the age of 16 to fight for my right to be who I am and to explore that part of my sexuality and not be afraid of it and not shy away, even though I was being told constantly that part of my body was not to be explored, that men don't have sex with men, that anal sex is wrong, And I'm grateful for Anhel, who taught me that I could explore this other part of myself and that I could have male and female energy. And I have for a long time felt that the world was opening up possibilities about what it can be to be sexual, right? And I appreciate you so much for bringing this conversation to people, because I think all people need to be able to talk about sex more freely, have their buddy that they talk to, like, hey, how do you do this, right? And not be afraid to ask questions, and not be afraid to experiment, and that your anus is a beautiful part of your body. It's not something to be avoided. It's something to be explored. And I think that hearing last week with Antoine, beginning to talk about some of the stigmas around it, and today thinking about more spiritual lens, I think you're right. Like, we can talk more about the logistics next week. I think but I think it takes time to open up, and like you were doing with your meditation, relaxation is so important. If you're not relaxed, anal sex is painful, So relax, let it be. So thank you for giving me the chance to be here tonight with you. I'm repping my love with pride.
Yes.
So I'm happy to be part of this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Your stories, your insight was just so beautiful, and I know that our audience is going to resonate so much with everything that you shared. What's up to Jaime in the chat? It was this hashtag anal all year. Yes, Jaime, you know
That's
the
right,
vibe.
Jaime.
Anal all year, babe. Rick
Also,
Rock. Yes, go ahead.
I was gonna say also Daniel has a point. Loving every piece of yourself is key.
That's right.
So you have to. I mean, your body. I feel your body is pleasure and for fun. So
Yes.
get out there and explore guys.
And listen, just like the meme, men love seeing your booty hole. Okay? They love seeing your anus. They love it. It winks at them, it talks to them. Like he said, he has full on therapy conversations like with it. So, love yourself. That is definitely key. Rick, do you have any closing comments for our episode today? Anal all year.
Anal all year, yeah. It's not just anal August anymore. It's anal all year.
That's right.
Yes, anal all year. Well, we thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate everybody who was in the chat today. Carol Mommy, Hi Mami Reguita, Spiritual Slut, Chia, the Baddest, Daniel, High Priestess, and Vernisa. We appreciate you all. Make sure that you share us with your friends because we're kinky like that. We like it. Share us. Make sure that you check out our YouTube channel, TGM Latin X, subscribe to the channel, and share us with your friends. Again, find 5 freaks in your life who you feel would benefit from listening to Sexual Frequency or any of the other shows that we have here on the Good News Radio Network. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Next week we have some special guests. Also, it'll be the gentleman from the Get Right. And we're gonna do it all over again, baby.
Yeah.
And just like we end every episode with the beautiful words of my ancestors, of my mother, which was play with yourself every night so that you know your body and you know what you like.
Yeah.
This was Goddess Lore, Rick Rock, and Profesora. We love you, we appreciate you, and we see you, baby. We'll see you next week.
Good night, y'all. Don't forget to follow.
Oh, our YouTube's still going. I'm dying. I have to pee so bad.